You ever find yourself thinking you're prepared for anything, that no matter how much the world tries to throw you off balance, you'll hold your ground? Then in a split second, something happens that flips your whole sense of control upside down? That's what happened to me and my little sister that day at the airport. Sometimes I still hear the words ringing in my ears. You two need to wait over there. This line's not for you. That was it. No reason, no kindness, just cold rejection, like we were invisible, or maybe just not what she expected to see in first class. And let me tell you, being a 9-year-old, clutching your ticket in your sister's hand, you start to wonder if maybe you did something wrong, or if somehow you're just wrong for being there. But here's the kicker, the thing nobody at that gate realized. We weren't just any kids. We were the daughters of the guy whose name was on the building, the guy who owned the very airline whose logo was stamped on those fancy boarding passes we held on so tight we left creases in the paper. My dad, Langston Piercy, never liked showing off, never needed anyone to bow or make a fuss, but he always told us to speak up if something ever fell off, no matter where we were. So there we stood, Kennedy and Kinsley and my twin, watching as every other kid, every family, every solo traveler, mostly white, got waved through while we were told to wait, as if waiting was just what girls like us were supposed to do. It would almost be funny if it weren't so sad. The gate attendant didn't even bother to look us in the eye. Just that bored little wave, that move along energy, like she had something more important to do than deal with two black girls in braids and Sunday dresses. The more we asked, the less she listened. At one point, Kinsley started to cry. And you know what that does to your heart? You want to be brave for your sister, but you're scared you'll both be left behind, that your dad's plans don't mean much to anybody but you. Now, in the middle of this circus, there was this black flight attendant, I wish I knew her name, who watched the whole thing with that look, like she knew exactly what was happening, but wasn't sure if stepping in would make things worse. And before she could even try, the gate agent shut her down. Mind your business. They don't belong in this group. That's when I realized Zed, no one's going to stand up for us unless we stand up for ourselves. So I pulled out my dad's card, always made sure we carried it, and I said, real quiet but clear, my dad told us to show this if something went wrong. The attendant just laughed and rolled her eyes. Yeah, and I'm the Queen of England. Right about then, a pilot passing by, this sharp-looking guy with a badge that caught the light, he glanced at the card, did a double take, and his face just changed. He didn't say a word, but he got on his phone and slipped away. And let me tell you, when my dad gets a call from a security team, he moves mountains. 1 second, he's in a meeting. The next, he's walking through airport security like he owns the place because, well, he does. His voice was ice cold when he said, ground all flights. Every single one. I'll be there in 10 minutes. And when Langston Pierce says that, you can bet the sky stops moving. All across the airport, you could feel the shift screens flashing delayed, in red, announcements dropping off mid-sentence, people looking up from their phones with confusion turning to panic. The gate agent still hadn't gotten the memo. She was just laughing with another attendant, poking fun at entitled kids with wild stories, never guessing that her world was about to change. Then there was this hush, like the air itself got heavy. My dad walked up, no yelling, no big scene. He knelt down, hugged us both tight, and stood looking that gate agent right in the eye. I'm Langston Pierce, and you just denied boarding to your CEO's daughters because of the color of their skin. You could have heard a pin drop. Her face went pale. She stammered, I didn't know. My dad just shook his head. That's exactly the problem. What happened next moved so fast, it still feels like a dream. The agent was led away, not just from the gate, but out of the building. Security didn't say a word. Her supervisor, the one who'd watched and done nothing, suspended on the spot, pending a full investigation. But Dad wasn't done. He called for a full internal review, every gate, every route, every policy. New training rolled out, not just some generic slideshow, but real anti-discrimination workshops. He set up an anonymous hotline so nobody ever had to feel helpless at one of his airports again. The story exploded. News cameras, reporters, cell phones everywhere. Dad stood tall, holding both our hands, and said, my daughters aren't just passengers. They're human beings. If this can happen to them, it can happen to anyone. You could see people's faces change right there. Security guards, ground crew, passengers. They weren't just watching a scandal. They were seeing a crack in the system, right where nobody wanted to look. Pretty soon, the whole country knew what happened. Hashtags everywhere, the company's stock bouncing, executives scrambling. Boards across the industry started calling emergency meetings, new equity programs launching overnight. But honestly, the real shift wasn't in corporate memos or social media posts. It was the way people started questioning, even just for a second, who gets to board first, who gets a second chance, who gets believed without having to prove their worth. I like to say everything was fixed, that from then on, every gate was a gate to something better. But you know how life works, it's never that simple. Some people went right back to business as usual, but a lot more quietly or loudly started to notice when things didn't add up. Hensley and we took the next flight out, escorted by Dad himself. Airport staff lined up with apologies and awkward smiles, like they wanted to wipe the slate clean with a handshake and a goodie bag. But here's the part that sticks with me most. As we walked down that jet bridge, hand in hand, Dad said, "You did the right thing, Kennedy. Both of you." He didn't mean for showing his card. He meant for not letting someone else decide our worth. Not today. Not ever. In the end, that's all anybody really wants, right? A fair shot, a little respect, a chance to just get where you're going without feeling like you don't belong. So yeah, sometimes it takes two little girls, a father who won't back down, and a single moment at a boarding gate to wake people up. But it doesn't end there. Next time you see someone getting sidelined, what are you going to do? Stand by or speak up? Because you never know, maybe the whole world is about to stop, just so someone can finally take their seat. If you've ever seen something like this or been through it, then stay silent. Drop your thoughts below. Tell us if you think real change is possible or if justice is just another word companies use when they get caught. I'll be reading ya. That happened.